Hey guys, Paul Wilson here. This is kind of a different sort of live stream. I'm doing some traveling for work. What I'm doing is I have a client in a different city than where I normally live that I'm doing Adobe Captivate training for. And so it's a 3-day training session, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Tomorrow's the last day. And I just find myself in my hotel room with nothing to do, and thought that it might be a good opportunity to jump on and just share some thoughts and ideas about doing, of course, the live stream here. Let's just take a peek here at doing, of course, pop out chat. I'll just bring up the chat window. Just bear with me a moment here. Hey Alexa, training's going well. It's sort of becoming old hat now, so that's pretty good for me, I guess. You know, when you do something the first time, it's sometimes a little weird. But once you've done it a few times, then works out okay. But the crummy part about being a freelance instructional designer, trainer, facilitator is that you're stuck in a hotel room with nothing to do. So I've already had dinner. I'm using my Subway coupons here. I've had more submarine sandwiches in the last couple days than I normally have in probably 6 months. But you know, it's always a challenge because of course it throws off your whole routine. I don't have my Shih Tzus with me. So it's just kind of a weird experience, you know. Nice hotel room though. I'm actually staying at a Country Inn and Suites, and this particular Country Inn and Suites are a part of. I'm just looking at the phone. You know how they always have little details there on the phone. I think it's part of Marriott. I think. What's this? Chocolate roses. Has nothing to do with me. Oh, sorry, Radisson. It's Radisson Suites or Radisson Inn. Free Wi-Fi. It's actually a really nice hotel room. This is 2 queen-size beds, a modern walk-in shower as opposed to some old ugly-looking tub with rust stains on the bottom. Nice big LG flat panel TV. A nice desk for you know, using the laptop while I'm here. So it's pretty good. It's a nice room. Seems very modern. It's I think they've probably done some renovations. It looks like it's freshly painted, so it's good. The yeah, so the training has gone. I think it's gone extremely well. One of the problems with trying to teach Adobe Captivate in such a short amount of time is that you want to provide them everything. You want to, of course, be able to teach all the aspects in the 3 days, and it is a challenge. You know, it's really difficult to get that much content in such a short amount of period of time. So Alexa's here asking, are your trainees respective? You mean respectful? Is that what you mean by that? So it's interesting. Each time I do training for an organization, there's always sort of one person who's the cheerleader. They're the person who found me on YouTube and arranged to have me come out and teach. And you know, so there's that one person. I've had that person before. It's different people, obviously, but someone who discovered me, told the rest of the team about me. Oh, there's this guy on YouTube. He knows Adobe Captivate, and he does offer, you know, in-person facilitator-led training, and we should have them come out and teach us how to use Captivate. I always find I love teaching classes. I love facilitator-led training. And one of the challenges I always face, because you've got a room full of people with laptops in front of them, and I think for the most part they're open to what I'm teaching. But I always find it difficult to read the room. That's always been a challenge for me. I find that, pardon me, I find that the group's facial reaction, if they're bored or engaged, is very similar to one another. Um, one of the difficulties is reading the room, getting a sense of if they're engaged in the learning and not, or not. And there's a lot of things that I sort of assume that, okay, these are just truisms of teaching people within a professional environment. For example, the manager of the department is there taking the training, and the fact is that she's going to check her email. She's going to check her mobile phone to make sure that she's taking care of all the fires and putting out all the fires that come up. So her job is obviously ongoing. She can't take 3 days off of work to do this. She's got to still do her regular job. So, but yeah, they're pretty open to it. I think that it's a good session, and I'd like to do this for more people. But it's a lot of work for me because it means that I have to travel. I have to leave home. Um, the way I've set up this particular course, when I sell it through my website, the idea is I have a flat rate for the training based on a minimum number of people, and then I charge an additional fee for each additional person. And on top of that, uh, to maintain sort of a sense of complete transparency, I just say, and cover my expenses. So rather than marking up what the hotel costs and what my food costs are, I just prefer that. I just like being completely open and honest and say, the hotel room was $500, the transportation costs were this. Here's the receipts to prove it. Along with that, I'll usually include all the receipts for my meals. Um, they've asked me to stick with their per diem rates. I don't have a problem with that. In fact, I think they're pretty reasonable. I don't even remember what they are. I think they were like $10 for breakfast, $12 for lunch, and $30 for dinner, or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, but um, that's not a problem for me. I usually do a little research and find good deals like discount coupons or and I'm not super fussy. I don't have to eat in a five-star restaurant every single night. I can go to just a regular family style restaurant and get a normal meal, and usually dinner isn't going to cost me any more than about $20. It goes on the credit card. I keep all the receipts. I photocopy them. I write them off as legitimate business expenses, but I pass that expense on to my client, and this way, of course, I send them an invoice for my fee plus expenses, and that's what they pay me. And that's what I report as my revenue. It's very simple. Keep it simple is my approach. But it's been a good couple of days. I'm looking forward to tomorrow because we're going to get into some of the more advanced stuff with Adobe Captivate. We'll be finishing up quiz questions. We've already done like drag and drops, multi-state objects, interactive objects, web objects, all the different video types, all the different audio types. How to set up a quiz, but we haven't done the actual question types yet. And we've covered themes, we've covered object styles. So there's been a lot actually. Sometimes when I kind of get into a muscle memory thing when I'm teaching Adobe Captivate, and after 2 or 3 days of teaching it, I completely forget what I've covered because it's just it's just going through everything. So I, I don't really think. Obviously, I talk about it to remember everything I've said and talked about because it's basically my format's the same. I start the day with an hour and a half in the morning. We take a break, another hour and a half. We break for lunch for an hour, and two of those one and a half hour sessions in the afternoon. So whether it's not that they're so again, the one person who recommended me to the rest of the group to come and teach them Adobe Captivate has used Adobe Captivate before. She is essentially blowing off the dust off of her skills. It's been a few years since she's used Captivate, and so it's new for her again because it's new again, right? If that makes sense. But the rest of them, I think, are pretty new to it. They are essentially the marketing department of this organization. Some of them are in learning and development, some of them are in marketing. But the idea is that there really is no learning and development department, so a lot of it's going to fall to other individuals. But I predict that they'll do well with it. So we'll see. But yeah, I really had no plan to live stream today. I just sort of thought, I'm kind of sick of TV. I'm kind of sick of Netflix. Been there, done that. So I thought, hey, just share my thoughts and ideas with you guys. So, or even just myself. Sometimes I'll live stream just for the sake of, kind of doing a mental dump. Just kind of get some of the ideas out of my head. Oh, thank you very much. That's nice of you to say. Alexa just said they've got a great instructor. So my issue is that I go off script a lot. So as a facilitator, and I guess it's okay. It's not a terrible bad habit. There are worse things you could do as a facilitator, but I've learned a lot because I've made a lot of mistakes over the years. Hi, Craig. It's Craig from Australia. Um, that's kind of weird. It still freaks me out that, here I am live streaming and, people from the other side of the planet are watching it. That's just wild. Still can't get used to that sometimes. Not that I have a huge audience, especially when I don't plan to do a live stream and just start doing it. And, I'm lucky to have 2 or 3 people on. No, so what happens is, I have a course that's written, and it's about 100 pages of material, but it's very step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. Step 3, do this. And as I'm going through it, it's I always sort of say I always sort of just say to people, um, I just it's a living document, and I give them copies of it. I print them out before I come out to these sessions. They're on one of those ring binders so they can open it up and lay it flat. It's not like a book that's difficult to open. It can be right beside their laptop. I learned that years ago is that, if you're teaching systems of any kind or software of any kind, it's really a good idea just to, have a book that can lay flat regardless of what page you're on. So I've always designed that, but it's a living document. It's a work in progress. My plan is that someday I'd like to actually publish it as a book or self-publish it as a book, but it's far from ready for that. No, there's a lot of similarities between what my course looks like and the Adobe Captivate Specialist course, because obviously, I'm everything I do is an influence of other things that I do. So to be quite frank, I've only done 2 of these live sessions for 2 different clients. This is the second one. And I've completely rewritten the book each time. Um, and the plan now will be when I get back home after the training has been completed, I'll probably go through it again and think, okay, what worked, what didn't work. Um, so for drag and drop, I think I'd like to prepare more sample project files so that I can have something prepared for them to start working with. There's going to be a lot of work to get this right. And I'm sure Pooja Jasing, who wrote the Adobe Captivate Specialist course, would feel the same way. It's not something you can just knock off on a weekend. It takes a long time, and you got to figure out, okay, what do they need to know? What would be nice to know? Keep that stuff sort of optional. What do they absolutely need to know to use the software effectively? So, um, at some point, I'll probably maybe even send out the documentation. Oh, I don't know. So Alexa's asking when I'm going to do another Udemy course. So I think my next Udemy course won't be an advanced course. I think if I do another Udemy course, it's not on the short-term agenda. Um, the first Udemy course I did was pretty successful, but I think it was a little too specific. It dealt with multi-state objects, advanced actions, conditional actions, fluid box responsive design through the guise of creating custom quiz questions. And it's a good course. I like the course. I'm proud of the course. It took a while in fact, that's probably would take less time than building a live instructor-led course. But I'd like to develop a, Captivate 101 course. The reason being that, I think there's a greater demand for basic training. Everyone focuses on advanced actions or shared actions, and they want to change the world with their awesome advanced courses. But I think there's a solid need for just really good basic courses that take you from A to Z, essentially, sort of an approach that let's get you up to speed, up and running, and that's sort of what this is. But I don't know how I turn that into a basic course that you can teach, just in a few hours, maybe online. But that is something it's on the cork board at home with a post-it note and a thumbtack, but or push pin. But it really hasn't moved from that position for a while. I've been extremely busy, probably the last 6 months between the launch of Captivate 2019 and obviously still working for clients. Although in a perfect world, I would just love to teach. Um, Yeah, so I think I'm pretty competitive. Like when I offer these classroom courses, it's based on a 4-person minimum price, and then I set that price, to be, what's different for Canadian dollars and US dollars, but you can see it on my website, of course. And again, it's always, I've excluded the cost associated with those courses. The only thing that's absorbed in the cost of the course itself is me printing the materials, and I do charge an additional fee per user. Um, yeah, it's a price. So the price on my website for 3 days is assuming that you have a minimum of 4 people, and then there's an additional. So it's 3,000, depending on whether you're Canadian or American, $3,000 for 4 people for 3 days. So I'm getting paid $1,000 a day to do the training. And if an additional person comes on board, so if it's 5 people, the price, I add another $1,000 on that. But it's, like that's just sort of a guideline. One of the things that I do frequently is, I'll negotiate, if you've got a large enough group, that's something I would certainly negotiate on. So, if I was teaching, I don't know if I would teach 20 people in a 3-day session like that. Maybe I would. I probably would, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't charge what that would calculate out to. I would certainly talk about, negotiating, and that's just part of freelance. You got, if someone's going to, pay all your expenses to fly you out somewhere and take you to a location and cover all your expenses, then certainly you can you know shave a couple bucks off here and there. So, but yeah, it's interesting. I've gotten quite good at the travel and hotel checklist. I know that when I'm packing my bag, I'm literally thinking about, okay, what do I need on day one? What do I need on day two? And I create these little piles. Um, when I'm traveling, I use my Bluetooth mouse. I got to remember to bring that, and I also bring extra batteries and all kinds of little accessories that you never anticipate. I have a VGA to HDMI adapter. Not that most cases I need that, but you never know where you're going to arrive and what kind of equipment you're going to have. The last time I did this course in December, it was a clunky old projector, and it wasn't very bright, and it was not very good quality, and it only handled certain resolutions. The last couple of days, I've been using a smart board, which has been fantastic. The quality of the image is spectacular. It's a fantastic way to work. Actually, it's a beautiful device. Um, yeah, so I mean, difficult handling large groups, different learning paces. And actually, the Adobe Captivate Specialist program is very hard as a facilitator. It's a very difficult class because, I really enjoy having these sidebar type conversations with my group. We had a couple of them today where I get to tell, sort of anecdotal stories about my experiences as a Captivate designer developer. And, for example, I was talking to them today about experiential learning and trying to design your training to be more like a scenario driven situation. When we, like I recall a stakeholder hired me to introduce a 4-step process that their clients needed to take, and the idea being that everyone within the organization needs to be able to communicate this 4-step process to the clients. And so I perceive that to be customer service training. That's really what it is. But they saw it as a process training. And it's, I see it quite differently because, of course, really what matters is the idea to convey a story. And we ended up telling a series of customer service stories. There was pushback from the stakeholder originally because they said, no, 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 it's all about the facts. We just want to get the 4 points of the 4-step process down, and that we just want them to memorize that. We don't want you to tell your little stories. And I wrote the quiz. The quiz was telling a story of, the passenger from flight such and such was just got off their plane and they don't know how to do the connecting flight routine. And so you're there standing in front of them as a customer service professional. What do you tell them? as opposed to just a basic multiple choice that says, here's the 4 steps. Which one is the first one that someone needs to go through? I'd rather tell a story about Dave, who just arrived from Los Angeles, doesn't know where to go first. What does he have to do? And that's the quiz, is the story. And if you're able to guide Dave from Los Angeles through his little story there, then to me that's success. That's the expectation you should have on your employees, not passing a certain percentage point in a multiple choice quiz. That's not what it's about. Um, having the flexibility to have those conversations is, I think, much better. But the unfortunate part about the Adobe Captivate Specialist program is, if you're in a room with 40 or 50 people and you've got to teach them, in my opinion, you're teaching them easily, I would say, a solid 3 days worth of content in 6 hours. So how do you do that? You don't get to tell anecdotal stories. You don't have side conversations. Okay, here's the steps. And you go through it as quickly as possible, because there's a topic waiting right after that one that needs to be discussed. And of course, you want everyone to be successful. And you hope, you pray really, but you hope that everyone did the pre-work, because the pre-work is where the bulk of that course resides. The day itself is more of a review to answer questions, and to quickly cover off any topics that anyone missed during the pre-work, and get everyone ready for that final test. The nice thing about when someone hires me to do Captivate training, I don't test them. To me, there's no evaluation at the end. To me, it's the motivation to be successful with the software is on their shoulders. Alexa, if you get the pre-work done, you will do fine. I will honestly tell you that. The people who were not successful in my session in Las Vegas, and there were a couple, were primarily because they didn't do the pre-work. So, if you do the pre-work, I'm confident that someone as intelligent as yourself would have no problem getting 80, 90. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the passing grade is. I think it's 80. But I'm quite certain that you could easily get 90%, 95%. But you have to do the pre-work. Good stuff. Well, that's it. I'm just not going to be demonstrating any Captivate because I'm captivated out. I am not captivated right now. I just came off of 12 between the last 2 days, a solid 12 hours worth of Captivate training in the last 48 hours, and I got 6 more hours of Captivate training tomorrow. So I'm going to sign off because I got to get some sleep, got to get up early, go and get my breakfast. Actually, here's a tip for you. If you do travel and you book hotels and stay in hotels, find the hotels that give you the free breakfast and the free Wi-Fi. That is golden. That is so important. So every day here, I get up, I just put on a t-shirt and pants, and I go down. I get my free breakfast. It's included with this hotel, and obviously I'm using Wi-Fi right now to do this live stream. There's no fee for that, no extra charge for that. And I come back up, do what I got to do to get ready, and I head right out. Tomorrow I'll be checking out in the morning. So actually, very good question, Craig. So actually, it's this very same customer that I'm teaching this week is the only person asking about 360-degree training. And so I will be helping them with that today or tomorrow, Friday, my time. So they have so they've recorded a bunch of 360-degree video, and when they found out that Captivate had the capability to create these 360-degree spheres for hotspot training and stuff like that, that's why they actually got on board with Captivate. So, but up until that point, I hadn't heard anyone ask about VR. A lot of people very excited about interactive video. I think that's still my favorite feature of Captivate 2019. But you know, obviously there's the main staple stuff as well. Tomorrow I'm going to teach them a little bit about video demo as well if I've got time. And we'll show them the webcam capabilities. And I think that's cool too. I think that you know, I'm a big fan of what I would describe as the democratization of e-learning software. You know, there are certainly individuals within the e-learning community that believe that unless you have a PhD, or if you're a professor from a university, or unless you you know, have a master's degree in education, that you know, you're not qualified to use Adobe Captivate or whatever. Um, but I think there's nothing more bunk than anything like, you know, here's my position. I am the accidental instructional designer. 13 years ago, when I accidentally transitioned from being a subject matter expert to being a trainer, you know, I realized that a portion of my career prior to this was in training fellow employees. And I loved it. And that was the part of the job that I loved the most. And I wasn't even aware that there was such a job as an instructional designer. So when I saw the job description for a posting for this, I obviously jumped at the chance, because to me, the job description looked like a checklist of everything that I enjoyed about teaching my fellow employees. So, you know, and of course, I've never looked back because I love it so much. My employer was excellent. They sent me on a whole series of train the trainer courses. Since that time, I've also gone back to the local community college and completed a teaching and training adults program that was about 6 weeks long, and obviously a whole ton of practical experience using various e-learning software, most importantly Adobe Captivate. You know, and I can't tell you how many different train the trainer and instructional design, and I've read tons of books, and I've certainly you know, been the self-educated instructional designer that, you know, and the thing is that the very same people who criticize me for being in this industry are the ones who haven't done any kind of training or upgrading of skills since they were in college 35 years ago. So, you know, not that a lot's changed. People generally, you know, I'm not a big believer in the people who say that millennials are learn differently than Gen Xers or Boomers or whatever. I think people are people. Um, and we tend to not really change that much. There was always a generation complaining about the younger generation. That's never been not a thing. So I think that people generally learn the same way. But you know, hey, it is what it is, and I am what I am, and I'm really close, and I'm really excited by this actually. I am on the cusp of two milestones right now. I look like Richard Nixon there. I do that. The two milestones that I'm really close to is I'm very close. I'm less than 130 subscribers away from 10,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. So if you know somebody who is a fan of Adobe Captivate, or they need to know how to use Adobe Captivate, or if they're interested in e-learning and Adobe Captivate, tell them about my YouTube channel, get them to subscribe. It's not enough to just go watch a couple of videos and then go away. Get on the subscription list, get the notifications so that every time I upload new content, make sure they're notified about the new content so they get to see it right away. The other thing too is, in addition to that, and the two numbers are just kind of eking up side by side there. So, I'm at 9,888 subscribers as of an hour ago or so. And I am about to cross the 1 million view threshold. So what's about to happen, I'm at 993,000 views of all my videos collectively together. So that's really exciting for me. It doesn't mean anything. Like, and perfectly honest, it doesn't have an impact. I believe, my understanding is that when I cross 10,000 subscribers, there will be two things. I'll be able to sell T-shirts on the YouTube channel, which would be kind of fun. I've designed it; it's ready to go whenever I'm allowed to do it. But the other thing is that I'll get an email from YouTube with little fireworks going off, letting me know that congratulations on the milestone. I don't know what happens when I hit 1 million views. I'll be interested to see if there's something also comes from YouTube. Alex is asking how long did it take to get there. It's hard to say because my history with YouTube is not. It's not like, January 1st, 4 years ago, I started making YouTube videos. I've been making YouTube videos since 2009, I want to say. And my earliest videos are, in fact, actually not still there, because I didn't always do just Captivate stuff. I kind of just did a little bit of everything. If I go to my YouTube channel, thanks, Craig. Pardon me. I don't have my good webcam and I don't have my good microphone, so I honestly apologize for the quality of this video. It's not the best, and it's kind of dark in here. I have a lamp right up here to illuminate me a bit. But what's interesting actually about YouTube, maybe what I'll do here is I'll just share my screen. And let's go to my Creator Studio page here. The Wi-Fi is not super fast in this hotel. Yeah. So if I think I don't do this like some YouTubers do. The subscribers is what I want to see. So if I stretch this this timeline out, I'll be able to go back in time almost like to see the full history. So I created my account in 2009, I believe it was. Well, it looks like I got a little error here. There we go. Oh, that's weird. Could be the crappy Wi-Fi, the crappy hotel Wi-Fi, which is okay. It's not terrible, but obviously it's not as good as what I have at home. And so it's interesting. I've actually had 11,000 subscribers, but see, it keeps reloading this for some reason. Maybe it'll work this time. But I've lost 1,100 subscribers, so I'm still technically below. I've never actually crossed the 10,000 subscriber mark. This I saw as a different number elsewhere, so I don't know if that's, yeah, this is not working like I would expect it to. So you can see that, I had back in 2009, I had 0 subscribers, but I'd upload a video. There's one little blip there. And so I started getting subscribers, um, and you can see the numbers here, 2 subscribers on this day, 3 subscribers. And gradually over time, it's grown to what it is today. This is how many subscribers I've gained. There was this spike one day where I got 38 subscribers back in 2017. That's was incredible, but um, it's just it's been a gradual but reasonably steady growth for probably the last 4 years. I got serious about YouTube 4 years ago when I decided to go freelance. So that made a difference as well. Because up until that point, like I was really experimenting with YouTube. I thought, what a neat idea! I could record these little tutorials just on the fly, And up until that point, I'd been designing training, designing e-learning, and it would take weeks and weeks and weeks to design an e-learning course. But, I could set up my webcam, or in this case, set up a screen capture arrangement with YouTube or other software like Captivate. It was literally the first tool I used to record these explainer videos that I made. And I would start recording, and I would just talk into a headset microphone. I would usually do it at lunchtime at work, and I'd create a little tutorial. And some of my tutorials were about Microsoft Office, and some of my tutorials were about different websites that I frequently used. I did a couple tutorials about one of these whiteboard video type tools that's web based that I used to use. And what else did I do? I did a couple Photoshop tutorials. I did Adobe Color CC tutorial, and obviously what I knew better than anything else was Adobe Captivate. And I think the first Captivate tutorial I did was when I discovered that Captivate had rollover effects for smart shape buttons, or that I could use smart shape buttons. This was back when, I wouldn't even have called myself an expert at that time. And at that time, I would find a new feature. Um, actually, the one video that influenced me the most was a video created by Dr. Alan Partridge on how to isolate an image of a person from the background and create a cutout character using Photoshop. And the idea was, so when I saw that tutorial, I bookmarked it, and I just thought, I do this so infrequently. I don't put a lot of characters, or at the time, I didn't put a lot of characters in my e-learning. So what I would do is I would, bookmark tutorials on YouTube that taught me something or refreshed my memory on a process that I didn't use frequently enough. Obviously, if there's something that you do every day, you don't need a tutorial beyond the initial use of that tutorial. But because it was so infrequently used, I bookmarked it, and every 6 months or every 3 months that I needed that procedure, I'd go back and watch Alan's video. And, I never thought I'd get to know Alan and even kind of call him a friend a little bit. But Alan is sort of the chief learning evangelist at Adobe for e-learning stuff. And I got a chance to meet him the first time I was in Washington, D.C. And it was a little strange to have him come up to me and recognize me for the YouTube videos that I was doing. But the cool thing is that I started making my own tutorials, and it was based on the fact, not because I was hoping to get subscribers, not because I thought I was terribly more knowledgeable than anyone else. I would learn something in Adobe Captivate and I'd record my own tutorial, mostly for myself, right? Thinking that, you know what, 6 months from now, I might forget how to do this. But if I record the procedures that I figured out, you know, and I admit there was, when I recorded those first tutorials, I was speaking to a potential third party. I wasn't talking to myself because obviously it's a YouTube video. You're hoping to get views from it. But I totally never thought that anyone would watch my tutorials. And, you know, a lot of it was also because as I transitioned from being an employee for a company and became a freelance instructional designer, I knew that at some point I might have to prove to someone that I knew something about the software. So that was totally what I did. I recorded these tutorials, and if anyone said to me, well, can you show me a sample of your work? I'd say, yeah, go to Paul Wilson or go to youtube.com/Paul Wilson Learning, and you can see some of the little tutorials that I know how to make in the hopes that I might get hired for a contract job to do something similar or to design e-learning. But I knew that these videos would demonstrate that, okay, Paul knows something about using Adobe Captivate. He's not just an amateur. He knows what he's doing. And I never thought I would have 10,000 subscribers. I never thought I would get 1 million views. Um, you know, but by that same token, I want to emphasize that that sounds impressive, 1 million views. It kind of blows me away too. But it doesn't impress my bank account. So just because you know, really, it's not that big a deal. Um, so just so you're aware, it's not, you know, I'll put it to you this way: if I took all the money I made from YouTube in a typical year, I could buy a really nice laptop. That's about it. So that should give you an idea. Where YouTube pays off is this, for example. So I'm going to make more money from doing this instructor-led session over the next, over these 3 days than what YouTube will pay me for the whole year. So, and I can totally attribute that I have this job because of YouTube. So indirectly, YouTube is very successful for me. You know, it's responsible for the vast majority of the work that I do throughout the year. But directly, YouTube doesn't make me a lot of money. It does allow me to have recognition within the e-learning industry. But, you know, I certainly don't have an audience large enough to strictly rely on what YouTube can do for you, or for me in this case. But you know, it's been fun. I've got to know a lot of people. It's the ultimate networking tool, by the way. You start doing YouTube videos and people start watching, and you know, you recognize the names. You know, like I see these names, I know I've seen. I'm pretty sure I've seen Craig's name. I definitely have seen Alexa's name. She's all over various social networking accounts. So, and I've met Alexa before last year, about a year ago, at last year's Adobe e-learning conference in Washington. And you know, I like making those connections. So it's really cool. You know, like here's a connection of someone that you know, in a million years, I never would have met under normal circumstances. But because, you know, I've managed to do this thing and get recognized for what I know, and Adobe's reached out to me and said, yes, Paul, we want you to come back, and they keep asking me to participate, and my role has expanded as well. The first couple of times that I went to Washington, D.C., I was just there for a 1 hour session, did my session, and enjoyed the conference like everyone else. This year, of course, I'll be conducting a full day session the day before of the Captivate Specialist certification. And when I think about that, I think about where I was 4 years ago, just another Captivate user out of hundreds of thousands. But because I decided to try and do something a little different than everybody else, you know, it's allowed me to participate to a greater level and give back to the community that's been so generous to me. So I really appreciate meeting all you guys in person, far better than social media. Um, you know, I can't wait to see everyone that I know, but also meet new people as well. So, pardon me. So, guys, I think I'm going to sign off at this point because I do need to get a good night's sleep because I got another solid day of Captivate training tomorrow. If you or your organization is interested in Captivate training, there's a whole bunch of opportunities that, you know, I basically have an option for everybody. Whether you need an hour's worth of training to focus on virtual reality or you know, interactive video, and you want to learn more about the latest features, you know, that's going to be really exciting. There's going to be new features around the corner real soon. I can't say much more than that, but you know, expect that that new features are probably coming. Actually, and I'll say this to you guys, and this is a small group tonight because this wasn't a planned live stream, but it's important to continue to give your feedback to Adobe. In the description of this video, right down here, and actually all of my videos, you'll see that there's a link to Captivate or Adobe's wish form. It's also their bug form, so if you're reporting a bug, you can do that there as well. But if there's something you'd like to see in Captivate, let them know. And nothing drives me more crazy when, you know, you see on the forums someone complaining about the way Captivate works, or it doesn't do this or it doesn't do that, and they just complain. And, you know, forgetting, of course, the forum is a user forum. We're all just users. None of us write the software ourselves. But make sure you fill out that form. You submit a feature request or you submit a bug fix request. And trust me, they will do it. I remember a conversation when I was still an employee with my last employer. I, you know, I was very active. Not only through, well, through the community. I received an invite to actually have a 30-minute call with Vish was his name, I think, if I remember correctly. I don't think he works on the e-learning team any longer, but he was one of the engineers. And we talked for 30 minutes. And he said, if there's one thing you'd like to see in Adobe Captivate, what would it be? And this was when I was still using, I think it was Captivate 6, maybe. And so I said, you know what would be really great? If you could have a version of a quiz question that didn't score. And the reason being is that I used quiz questions as knowledge checks, as practice questions throughout my e-learning courses, even going back, you know, 10 years ago or whatever. But I always had to figure out a way to have them not reflect in the final score. So I had to make them worth 0 points or worth 1 point, but not contribute that point to the final quiz. But then I couldn't show the number of questions. So because they were, you know, technically my knowledge checks were question 1 of 14 or question 2 of 14 and things like that. So, you know, it just didn't work well. And he said, what would you call those slides? And I said, I don't know, a knowledge check. And sure enough, I don't know if it was 6 months later or a year later, that feature was, and I'm sure I was not the only person who suggested that. I'm sure that there were many hundreds, if not thousands, of people who said, we would like practice questions or knowledge checks. But, in a way, I kind of feel somewhat responsible for that. I was one more person who told them that I'd like to see that feature. I know that I've suggested things, and actually, I recently went in a call where I was talking to them about what I'd like to see in the next release. I was informed that because of one of my videos, there is actually going to be a new feature in the next release, the next update that will be introduced. So again, if you sit back and complain but don't actually tell the right people, you're not going to affect change. You're not going to get what you want. But if you let them know, and like I said, I have the wish form right down here in the description. It's in all of my videos. Follow that link. Tell them what you want to see. Um, Even tell me. Put it in the comments right below. Put your comments down there. What do you want to see in the next update? What's not working for you? What could be improved? I know that, for example, the way effects used to work, they changed that, I think Captivate 9, and totally improved that, or it might have been 2017, I don't recall. They all kind of blur together for me at this point. But, if you don't speak up and say what it is that you need from the software, you'll never get it. So on that note, I will end it today, and I'll be back on Monday. I think I've not scheduled a live stream for Monday, but I'm pretty sure I'll probably do something unless I'm busy. I have a bunch of other clients I'm working with, so it's actually been a busy start to the year, and of course, I'm finishing up a lot of stuff from last year still. So I got a lot on my plate right now, so I'll do my best to share things with you guys. But have a good night, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye for now.